everybody. It's finally Thursday again.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And we are actually really excited to be back here with you guys. This has ended up being a super busy winter with lots of really great things that have gone on. And we are excited to talk to you guys about all of that. But I guess in true fashion, should we keep with, our old
Hey, James.
version of the show? Do we start with a fishing report? I mean, I guess we have been fishing recently.
Yeah, I mean, the fishing has been, I would say for us, far and few between. I mean, we probably are still fishing a lot more than a lot of people, but it's for us, it just has been like, whoa, like we need to get out on the ice. But, the last couple weekends we've been out, we finally got a little bit of a break. And, yeah, it was tough going the first day. We almost got skunked. We snuck a couple in right at the end, but what we found out was we were fishing way too low. And by that, I mean, we were catching fish a foot under the ice right before we left. We did that the next day and it worked.
Did a little bit better. We did have like an east wind. Some people really are concerned about that. We had, all kinds of weather conditions coming through, this and that. So, I mean, maybe the fish just, because we know that there's better fish in the lake or more fish in the lake, because actually we caught some really good ones. But the funny thing about what you're saying is that you're right, that the fish were just under the ice. And in this late ice pattern, that's something that's not unheard of for panfish. But usually when you hear that, you think of crappies. But actually what we were finding, I mean, there was a few crappies mixed in, but what we were catching was bluegills.
Yeah, and not just small ones. We were catching some 8, 9s, couple 10s mixed in here and there. A lot of smaller ones too, but you don't think of bluegills, especially in the wintertime, as something that you would catch a foot under the ice in like 16 feet of water, right? That's just not super normal. There could be a variety of things going on there, low oxygen. That's maybe where the food is right now. Who knows, but it's just noticing those little differences. We weren't even marking fish, we don't have the forward facing sonar, unfortunately. I mean, well, fortunately, unfortunately, it's kind of our choice, but, we stuck to what we know. We fished contours, we fished depths, we fished, bottom transitions, and the fish were still there. They just were in a different place vertically than we normally see them. And it was kind of crazy because, yeah, we probably outfished crappies, I don't know, probably 5-1. In most cases, and they're still in there, but it was all bluegills.
And I guess the funny thing that I'm thinking about through this conversation, this fishing report, is that, I mean, we are kind of in the north woods of Wisconsin now. And so we have ice. There's so many places that just simply don't have ice at all. There's so many people that have gotten boats out. They are in rivers. I don't think I know if any lakes are truly open, because that action is happening in the rivers. A lot of those systems have, specific openings for walleye and stuff. And so I think that's where people turn their attention. The season has flipped. But for those of us who are in, the northern part of the ice belt, gosh, there's still a lot of ice out there. And so, to give kind of an ice report to go along with all of that, I mean, I wouldn't say that travel is easy. And so if you are hearing this, oh, wow, they're still on ice, I'll just drive north. But, by all means, bring your spud bar and all that, because, those conditions vary by location. And anytime that you are getting like hills that are facing into the sun, those shores are starting to melt off. You do have a little bit of runoff. And so you could have a place where the ice is feels like 1,000,000 inches thick, but those shorelines are degrading, and so don't assume what those conditions are, especially this late in the season. But if you do go out, I mean, there is some really great fishing to be had, except for the snow. And we've had quite a bit of it. So if you are good at trudging through, if you have a snowmobile, if you, want your workout for the day in, that is the time. Like, come on up, come check out these lakes. But otherwise, that was the other thing, is we checked a lot of spots this weekend, but we kind of ended up carving out a little place, and we were lucky that we found fish there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this time of year, especially with kind of what how our seasons kind of ended up, a big thing to bring with you is a scoop shovel. We have a plastic one. I think it's called Bully Tools. We picked it up randomly at Fleet Farm, and it's seriously one of my favorite things in our sled. It's super light. We've had it for like 3 years. It looks brand new. And before I drill holes, I just take 1 or 2 or 3 scoops, drill a hole, and that cuts down on the slush around the hole. Also gives you a place kind of to stand, so you're not like making that concave like slide down towards the hole. Keeps things a little less slushy, but yeah, by the end of the weekend, that spot, the water had kind of come up in those little areas where we had shoveled out, and it kind of spread out and made it all slushy. And yeah, so expect that. But yeah, overall ice is pretty decent. Just keep an eye on the shorelines. The sun's high in the sky this time of year, so any day, you could have 2 days in the 40s, and you could have 15, 18 inches out in the middle of the lake, but the edges might just be shot. So just be careful. Check it before you go out. And yeah, lots of ice still.
Lots of ice still for some of us, that's for sure. And I know that we are hitting the ice again this weekend. So, be looking for those ice reports and pictures and all of that. Maybe we'll see you on the ice. That would be a whole bunch of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And, come find us because we're out there. But I think I guess this show tonight, we are here just to chat kind of about why we were on such a hiatus, and not like it's anything earth shattering. I mean, life came in and, a whole bunch of different factors and all of that. But, just to share out some of those fun things that we were doing in that time, because even though we shared pictures, sometimes just being here and talking about it is just so much better. But if you guys have questions, things on your mind, whatever, throw that in the comment box. If it is ice season, if it is open water, if it's about our conversation or not, I'm interested in hearing where you guys are at as well, because we like to touch base each week, and it's been a lot of weeks since.
Yeah. Michelle, Andrew, Eric, thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Anybody that's saying hi or just getting here, just throw hi in the comments.
Hey, you skipped James Sullivan.
I said hi to him right at the beginning.
You did? Oh.
You weren't even listening.
I'm over here chatting to everyone who's at home.
Oh, look at all these just popped up.
I was going to say, yeah, it must have just like loaded in or something, because we have a whole bunch of people checking in.
Frank, John, another James,
yeah, definitely.
Brian,
our stuff was
Ray.
not loading until like right now. This is so funny. Well,
that's funny.
Thanks to all of you guys.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm hearing, Brian, how far north? Well, we are not far from the Anago area, and I can tell you that reports on Shawano are iffy in a lot of places. I would check that Shawano Ice Fishing Report Facebook page, because they will tell you. But a little bit north of that, did you measure the ice that? Honestly,
yeah, I mean, it's like
it's like 15
inches.
Yeah, it was so much.
So yeah, Brian, I think you're pretty safe. Anything north of the Highway 29 corridor. Obviously don't quote me on that. Every lake is different. But as far as our snowpack and our ice, it seems like we were in kind of this little pocket of no snow and cold temps all winter up until the last 2 weeks.
Then we got dumped on.
So like our ice is holding up, and the snow really, as much of a pain in the butt as it is, it's really going to save that ice, because it's really what it's going to do is it's going to shield it from the sun.
Except the spots that you shoveled out.
Well, there's that. But it's going to shield it from the sun, and it's going to keep those temps in that lake bottom a little bit cooler during the day. So it will extend our season just a little bit. Outlook looks good for ice. We're looking at low to mid 30s, and then lows in the teens for the foreseeable future. So unfortunately for our maple syrup tapping, that hasn't been
on hold.
But for fishing, it's been awesome.
Brian is checking in. He was on Fox Lake last weekend, so actually quite a bit south of us. and it was fine. It says 14 inches of ice. So again, check those
Nice.
shorelines. But good to know that there is ice even that far south of us. So if you do want to make the trip and come north and see all that snow, by all means. But if you want to avoid the snow, I would maybe try down there as well. And as we're talking through comments, John Holtman checking in. Hello to you guys. Always love seeing you guys and asking if we have float suits. And certainly we do, love, I'm going the wrong way. Love wearing that striker gear. But I actually switched suits halfway through the year.
Ooh,
Finn Dog checking in. Hey, baby. I switched float suits halfway through the year. Stryker has the women's Stella suit that they came out with this year, or maybe even last year. Gosh. But Primaloft insulation, all the bells and whistles of a true fishing suit, all of what the guys have. It's in the girls' suit. It's a great suit. It is awesome. I love it. It might be too warm for me. When you are trudging through lakes, when you are, on foot, drilling holes constantly, it is a super comfortable suit and it vents great. But I also decided to, halfway through the season, try the Prism bibs. They were updated, and it's one where like the seat drops down, like the butt opens up if you need to pee on the water or on the ice or like whatever your situation is. And actually, I was worried because the back is open, and that allows that drop seat to work. And I thought I was going to be cold, and I wasn't. It's actually become my preferred bibs when we go out. I find myself wearing them every single time. So, really shocking to me. Maybe I'll do a different video on that and share it out. I was going to say for the ladies, but for anybody who wants to check that out, maybe it's for yourself or for your friend or for your wife or whoever it is. But some great stuff, some great options for those who are still in ice season or for next year.
Mm-hmm. Our buddy, Mr. DeFiro, John DeFiro, he's over in Rusk County, 24 inches. So those of you who don't know your counties very well, that's over on the northwest side. That's awesome. And you guys deserve to do some ice fishing because you guys have been hammered with snow all year. So hopefully the fish are biting over there and you get some good fishing in because we still got about a month. I think we'll be coming right up to the edge of April. Brian's asking if we use plastics. Do we use plastics, Emily?
Okay, funny story. Because almost exclusively, like 99.9% of the time, except for the last time we went out. So, I guess, why did we change that?
Here's the deal, is that we've been not against live bait, but we together are both awful at keeping bait alive. Like, I just throw it in a bucket and then it ends up freezing, or Emily throws it in something that comes in the house and then they end up turning into like caterpillars or whatever. And so it's a pain in the butt. My plastics don't freeze. I can leave them in the truck.
Different animals.
And they work. And so yeah, we have a mix of plastics. I really like Extreme Plastics out of the Madison area. Emily really likes the IJO plastics. We use a few other select body styles of a few other companies. BY Baits is another one of our favorites. P3 Plastics. There's all kinds of small companies, the hand pour guys that all of you should patronize. We do pour a little bit of our own. We don't sell anything. It's mostly just for experimenting, right? So we can try different colors, or we can try different bodies, and just adds to the hobby, which is fishing for us. So I guess we use plastics.
But the problem with using plastics, being a plastics person, is just that you become a plastics person, because then all of a sudden, you visit your local bait shop and then there's a different, I haven't seen that before. You travel somewhere, you visit their bait shop, and then that's a whole new set of, and then all of a sudden, because here's one of the things that's interesting is that, oh my gosh, sorry if you heard that. We have this baby cat and he's jumping everywhere.
He's just exploring.
But the
He's just a poor little
thing
baby
about
cat.
the plastics is that as you start to recognize all these different bait pours, there's a certain number of companies, a small number of companies that actually cut the molds. And so that is why the hand pouring becomes so important, because it's about the type of plastic that's being used, the softness, the hardness, the all of it goes into the colors, but then you start to notice, this company, that company, how they do it. Do they use scent? Do they not? But then all of a sudden you go somewhere and then you notice that, oh, this company is using a mold, differently. They have, I don't know, some companies are making like eyeballs these days, so you don't have to rip them out of fish. And it's just all so interesting. And that's the thing, is you become a plastics collector.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I find myself every year into a different profile that's my confidence bait. So like I end up using something that's like completely different than the year before, but then I just like pound on it all season, and then all of a sudden summer goes by and I come into winter, and then something happens and I pick something else, and it just is like what is always on my rod, and I'm always catching fish on it. And so like the cool thing about it is being able to have all those options. And if your confidence one isn't working, you can take it off, just throw something completely random on. I bring all my summer plastics with me. I'll throw a 3-inch plastic in an ice hole. That's fine. Sometimes it works. Sometimes they're looking for something a little bigger. So, it's all about experimenting.
Yes, Jacob, that is our version of Stinker. Stinker is Larry Smith's squirrel. I almost said squirrel. Skunk. It's a skunk. So we got to see him at the Wisconsin Fishing Expo. I'm not getting us off track. That is so funny. I read that.
Hey, John, that's awesome about those striker bibs adjustability. I mean, that's one of the best features aside from the floating, is that you can adjust them to whatever length, well, almost whatever length, but like a very extreme amount, like 6 or 8 inches or whatever it is. So that's really cool that you figured that out, and that they're working better for you.
But I do feel like we've only shared half of this story about the plastics, because part of the reason we bought Waxies this last weekend is partially due to the influence of Ryan Salemi of Ice Junkies Outdoors. So, actually one of our last podcasts before we kind of took our hiatus, he is who we talked to. And I think he even was here talking plastics and jigs and actions and all of that. So that's actually really relevant to what we're talking about. But kind of like Justin is checking in, red spikes and rainbow metallic jigs. Don't think you've switched from it all winter. And that's the thing, is like when you find something that works, how do you not keep going to it? And so in the case of Ryan, he's worked really super hard to find, the jig, the profile that works for him. He uses wax worms. He puts them on in a specific way. I'm sure that he would explain all of this to you, but he would do it better than I could. So ask him, but we were fishing with him on his lake where he catches giant monster bluegills. And it is a really super delicate light bite. And so, I actually heard somebody that very weekend, because we were fishing with a big group. And somebody that weekend said that they don't always care so much about the light bites because it's got to be a small fish. And this lake is a perfect example of why that is not always the case. Sometimes those super light bites are the big fish. I mean, they get big for a reason. And, if they're out there just crushing hooks, that fish might not be there, So I'm not saying that all the light bites are big fish, but it sure could be. And I guess for Ryan, he found that the Waxies just work better. And we have a lake that we've been fishing that reminds us a little bit of his. So we've been kind of trying his technique in our place.
A few more people jumping in here. Jack's Tackle. If you guys haven't checked out Jack, he's an awesome kid. We met him in Fargo.
Sioux Falls.
No, Fargo. Anyway, we met him over there. He paints some awesome lures. So if you should go give him a look.
Well, Jack, let us know where you're from and your Facebook page, because people should visit that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mr. Luigi.
Michael Luigi.
We're already missing some of his famous cooking.
And so for those of you who do not know him or recognize him, one of the greats of the Hero Fishing crew.
Mhm.
And so, Kent is definitely like a big mind and putting all of this together and all of that, but it takes a team to make that whole Heroes Fishing experience happen. And in their case, it's the fishing that is for sure that is foremost a part the part of the trip, but the lodging, the food, the travel, there's so much that goes into making that
Well,
trip happen for all those people, and they make that happen.
I don't know if we've done a show since then.
We
So
haven't. We have
so
not even.
Heroes Fishing is an organization that takes everyday heroes and brings them to like once in a lifetime fishing trips, right? And so we were contacted out of the blue from these guys and said, "Hey, you were nominated to go on this fishing trip to Lake Cascade." And we're like, "What?" Like, and they're like, "Yeah, somebody nominated you as their hero." And this is this is anonymous. You can go on to herofishing.org, I
Nominate
believe.
somebody that you know.
Nominate anybody that you know. It could, you could give somebody a trip of a lifetime with these guys, and they're awesome. And they brought us out. They brought us out to Cascade. We went and had an awesome time. I broke my PB almost every single time I dropped my lure down the hole, and it was just awesome. And besides the fish, the scenery was awesome. There's all these temperature inversions and fog rolling around, and it was crazy. But afterwards, just getting to sit around and talk with everybody and like hear the stories and like it's awesome. We love Hero Fishing, and we're if you haven't nominated somebody yet, go nominate it. Herofishing.org. Go do it.
Well, and we'll certainly do a whole show on that, because what I want to do, okay, I understand people at home, nobody wants to see vacation pictures, and I get that. But there's a few pictures that we took on that trip that when we do a show with them, that like we are going to have to show up on that screen, because I know that a lot of them we post them to Facebook and you can go back and find them, but teasing through all those photos. And there are just some of the pictures, because that is the thing, is those perch come out of that hole and they are like monsters. Like I can't even explain to you what it is like watching a perch that size come through a hole like that. And they are predator fish, so it's not even like you're having to pound bottom and stuff. Like you can jig, you can use big spoons. It is a whole different experience out there. And we also found that if it's not a perch that's after you, that it very well could be a trout. So beautiful, beautiful fish, fabulous fight, and really truly an experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just sitting here reading the comments, and Brian's talking about you first time using a long rod. So define a long rod for us, because I like.
Did you switch to open water?
One of my favorites is the JT Panhandler in 35 inches. For me, is it 35 or 37? Anyway, it's the longest Panhandler, and that one for me is one of my favorites because I do a lot of standing outside. I was against it for a long time. I'm not going to join I don't think I'm ever going to join that 40-inch. That's the 40-inch club. That's like almost as tall as I am when I'm standing up. So I'm going to do that. I have a bunch of summer rods I could use, but no, but I do appreciate, the little bit of extra control when you're standing up, being able to have, your line down by the water, or your tip of your rod down by the water, so less wind. It's really helped me dial in a lot of those light bites with that tapered spring bobber that JT has on their rods. And yeah, it's been pretty awesome. What is
I know,
going
I'm
on
listening to this cat behind us. He's like a terror. For those of you who don't know, this is a green screen right now. And so that's why the letters on Josh's shirt are actually blue, but is picking it up as green, which is so funny. But what is happening behind this curtain, literally none of us know. So I was just, I'm kind of lost in that Hero Fishing trip because Cascade was amazing. And we were talking about, I guess, Ryan and the waxworms and all of that. That was a new adventure for us. Another new adventure that I have started going on, I guess. And I think it's going to take me right into open water. I found myself getting really caught up in like the new jigs each year. What's new? And I realized how much is in my tackle box that's like now old, you know, and it's like not even used, some of it. But I went and I took out some jigs. Widowmaker Lures makes some prop jigs. And gosh, they're right on the website. They've been around for a long time. I've seen them in a dozen shows. They have a million great colors. But I've started switching for pan fishing to that vertical presentation. You know, I love just like a little dropper jig, and that's horizontal and that's great. But something about that vertical presentation, maybe that's why we're catching so many bluegills. But with that little propeller on that jig, it has, I don't use the word game changer because like not everything in the world can be a game changer. You know, that there's a new one every year, cannot be, you know, I don't know. But this really truly has helped me be an angler, because let's say these bluegills that we were fishing for this past weekend, if they strike short and they steal that waxy, that's the thing, is like plastics are harder to steal, you know, but if they steal that waxy, that prop jig has just enough spin. I twice this past weekend caught bluegills on blank jigs because that wax worm had gotten bit off, and I dropped right back down to them without rebaiting. And because I don't know, because that wax worm was delicious the first time or something, I don't know, they bit that hook and I was catching fish even in that way. So just a really cool thing, because sometimes when you miss that bite, you miss it. But in this case, I was able to kind of like redeem myself. And that was a really fun thing to be able to do.
Yeah. You know, there's something to be said about going, you know, old school with your jigs, just because, you know, for how long have we been using, you know, that horizontal tungsten now, you know, and so, and this year I feel like we've seen a lot of the spoons, like that pinhead minnow's been around a lot. Might just be, you know, whatever's on our feed, but I just feel like there's waves of different things. And going back to some of the lead stuff, especially if you're fishing 15 feet and under, you know, you don't necessarily need to fish tungsten. The fish don't know the difference between lead or tungsten or nothing. You know, sometimes if I'm fishing in less than 10 feet, I use like wet flies that I tie myself that are just hook and hair or hook in rubber or whatever. And I just put that on my line with no weight and just drop it down there. And that sometimes I like to challenge myself. I like to fish like panfish lures. So like no bait, no plastics. One of my favorite ties is the bloodworm tie for grayling. It's on a worm hook. It's super awesome. Just drop it down there, wiggle it around a little bit. You can drop it on the bottom. It's a super fun bait to fish with because there's nothing to put on the hook. You just drop it down there and they eat it. Not all the time, but it's fun. Yeah.
Flies are awesome for big gills. You know, one of the things that I always thought about doing is putting a fly on, what are those like trout bobbers, like a bubble bobber, and you can like toss it out there.
What?
And especially for those early spring, I mean, I don't actually like to take fish off beds. So like, I know that's a lot of things. People really look forward to it. I'm not here to judge anybody, you know, but there is a time when fish are shallow, even when they're not spawning, you know, when they're looking for that warmer water and all of that. And I really have been thinking about putting flies at the end of like a bubble bobber.
Yeah. I mean, I have all kinds of them.
I know.
Tell you to put one on all the time. I use them. I like them. Yeah, Justin's saying that slower drop can be a huge difference, even though they're a pain. They don't have to be a pain. So here's an instance of where you need to match your tackle with what you're fishing with. And that means your rod, your line, and your terminal tackle if you're using stuff like clips, or if you're using stuff like swivels. You know, I love using swivels. So I mean, I put it on everything, even if I'm using if I just put in 3 or 4 feet of line on my mono rods, I'll still just use that leader setup just because it keeps the twists out of my jig. And it's super small. It's number 28. It's from Hytena.
It's the tiniest little thing.
Go look them up. They're awesome. I use them all the time. But if you dial it down, there's braid that's 1 pound equivalent, and you know, you use a really small terminal tackle, you can get a plenty fast drop rate, you know, even in 15 feet of water. once you start getting past 15 feet, then you're looking at like different water densities, and then it starts getting kind of finicky. But 15 feet and shallower, like, yeah, just match your tackle with your line and your rods, and you should be good to go. And that goes the other way too. Don't have like super light setup and try and put a heavy spoon on it. You're not going to feel anything. And when you're trying to jig, all you're doing is moving that spoon just like this, but your rod's like, that's not going to do anything. So you need to bump up your rod, bump up your line, and fish it the way the bait's meant to be fished, and it'll work better.
And it'll work better. Otherwise, just do what John DeFaro is saying, fish the whole water column, because, hey, there's so many fish just under the ice right now.
Yep.
Then you don't have to, that fall rate, that jig gets to those fish so fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Frank, love that kitty. Yeah, come get him. I'm kidding. In fall, this cat found us. He was ditched in the middle of a forest, and we happened to stumble upon him through it was a crazy, who knows? He just found us in the middle of the woods. And so now he lives with us. But to be honest, I mean, we've done a lot of traveling these weekends and stuff, but this cat has made our life kind of crazy. So it's, we've honestly missed a podcast or two just because,
He'll be a cat soon.
He has a lot of energy. We want to take him fishing, but ice season is like hard to get him out there. Honestly, he loves water. I'm not even kidding you. He jumps in the shower with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. As long as we can get him used to a leash, he might come fishing with us.
Yeah. Justin, rod that I like with my spoons. So it really depends. So I have a lot of what I call micro spoons. So it's almost like a vertical jig, but it has a treble on it. So that's what I call a micro spoon. That I'll fish with those panhandlers because it's lead and it's pretty light, so I can use it with that. If I'm using stuff, like that, like the flutter spoon, or not the flutter spoon, the slab seeker by Widowmaker, that's a tungsten spoon. It's a little bit bigger, it's 16th ounce, and then next step up is 3/16 or something like that. But if I'm fishing those bigger spoons, I really do like what's that one that JT has?
The Gold Digger.
No, it's the one under
That's
that.
What Jonathan is saying right now. That's why I said that.
The
Rogue?
No, not the Rogue, the one above that. Now I got to look it up. Now you guys got me all
flustered.
No, I mean, I use whatever works, honestly. Shiver stick. All right. Let's see. Can we share?
Oh, the Rain is a good one, but that's a little bit stiffer even. So
that's too big. I do like the Gold Digger for some of the walleye stuff, but when I'm talking panfish spoons, I like the Shiver stick. Where's this? Is it this one?
I don't know.
Yeah, here it is. There we go. This one. I like this one. So that's, they come in a few different sizes, and they do some different colors. So I like this. 32 is kind of my sweet spot. Oh, that's not showing up on there. So there's a 32. There it goes, 28, 32, 35. I like the 32.
Full grip, split grip.
Yeah, full grip, split grip, cork, sure grip. You get black or blue, or right now they have a purple.
Oh yeah, the purple's actually nice.
So I mean that's kind of the one I like right now. But it always changes. It's hard for me to talk about all the different spoon options just because.
John, we were talking about Hero Fishing. I didn't even realize that you were here too.
Oh, hey,
have
John
a great
Harris.
night of work.
Yeah. Yeah, that Shiver stick is like, it's like a light if you're gonna put it in terms of powers, um, has a fast action, so you can fish stuff, getting higher up in that weight category for panfish. You can fish some light walleye stuff with it. It's a really versatile rod. Um, and yeah, so that's what I like. I'm a finesse guy. I use all kinds of small stuff. Panhandler rarely is not. I usually carry around two panhandlers. Like, so it's, once in a while I have the shiver stick out, but most of the time it's just panhandlers.
Start using those prop jigs.
Kind of lame.
Not lame.
Not lame.
Let's pull up those prop jigs while we're screen sharing.
So, Brian, you asked what type of line we use. You love fluorocarbon. I love fluorocarbon. So I really like the Sunline. I like the Sniper for fluorocarbon, but Sunline also makes one called X Plasma. You can get a 600-yard spool for $75. That goes a long ways when you're talking about a braided line that will last for 2 years, 3 years. You can fish a season or two, and then like put your reel, take another reel, and then reel it off backwards, and so then the stuff that you haven't used is now on the outside. You can reuse it again. That's kind of where I'm at with that. It's an 8-pound test is their lowest pound test, but it's a 1-pound diameter. I'll throw one of those Hytena swivels on it. I'll put 4 feet of fluorocarbon on it, and it fishes just fine. It's an extruded, it's an extruded super line, so it's not technically a braid, but so it sucks up less water, so it freezes probably as much as like fluorocarbon would, or maybe a little bit more, but it's negligible for me. So I really like that X Plasma. It's been working awesome.
Sorry, now I'm just looking around. I
found the prop jigs. At?
I don't know. I was looking for it. Here is exactly it. Slab Seeker spoons, because we were talking about this too.
Yeah. So we were number 84, right that's been a really good one this year. That green and gold, they're out right now. So
I was gonna say, don't tell anyone, because I want them when they reorder.
Yeah. I don't normally use backing, just because I go through so little line fishing panfish. I don't have to worry about, filling the spool. If I do want to like cut down, I really like this stuff called silicone tape. It self-fuses. I can buffer my spools with that to make it a little bit shallower, and it's not sticky. It only adheres to itself. So when you're done with it, you can just cut it off, and it just peels off and doesn't leave any trace behind. Fairly cheap. You can get $50 or 50 feet for $8 or $9 on Amazon. Comes in a bunch of different colors. I also use that for all kinds of stuff. It's way better than duct tape, but I also use it to tape my handles on. Yeah, so that's what I do. But that's awesome. People should be using backing. Saves a lot of line, especially during ice fishing. Now what?
I was waiting to see where you were going to go with that also.
Holy smokes, Cat.
There are a lot of people that are looking forward to open water, and part of the ways that we start doing that, in the past, it was that we'd start heading to the river right away because we lived right by the Wolf. And now that's actually quite a trek for us because we did move north. So the blessing is that extended ice season, but getting us into that open water is always the Wisconsin Fishing Expo. And that was great this year. Actually tons of crowds. Like Saturday was super, super busy. And that was actually really awesome. Everybody seemed to be finding what they were looking for, because gosh, there was a lot of bags that went out the door. But you know, the one of the fun things is that we got to be prize fairy. I got to
Prize Patrol.
yeah, well, yeah, because Hannah Hudson, way back in the day, worked with the expo, and she always called it prize fairy. So I think of that too. So shout out to you, Hannah, because you stuck with me all this time. Yeah, but prize patrol is actually what they call us, I guess. And it was really fun because just for coming to the expo, people were eligible to win prizes. And we did indeed get to just like ambush people with all kinds of different giveaways. And there was some really great stuff. So for people that we saw, it's always great to see people there. And for people who we did not see yet, don't worry, because there is going to be a whole ice fishing expo dedicated. I was going to say to ice fishing. I already said that part, but it is so exciting because it is going to be here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. The second weekend in December.
In Oshkosh.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for it. Like, so I don't know how many of you travel around and or get to multiple expos, but Emily and I have been doing the expo circuit for a number of years now, and I haven't missed a St. Paul expo since I was like 14. And so like you start to see all this stuff out there, and it took me until like the last couple of years and really starting to like we're working on putting this expo on, helping an advertising company get this ice expo done in Wisconsin. I didn't realize so much of the ice fishing industry, a lot of the innovation comes out of Wisconsin. And so we as a state, Wisconsin needs to have like a premier ice fishing expo, and I think we're well on our way to it. We have all kinds of good speakers. There's a giant kids zone. It's going to be like a celebration of ice fishing. It's not just going to be a show where you come for deals. It's going to be a place where you can learn things, you can hang out, you can have a good time, like you're going to a ice fishing fair. And so it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great time.
And I know that I was going to say, now there's a list of exhibitors somewhere. And I imagine that actually, I know for sure that this has been added to since then. Look at that, even a map. So right off the bat, we see Acme Tackle, we see Amped Outdoors, we see Aquaview, Arctic Anchor. Man, gosh, some of our favorites, even just right at the top. That's barely even all of the A's. And so that's going to be really a great time. And Oshkosh is a really easy to get to location. So I posted the website in the comment section. So whether you're joining us from Facebook or YouTube, that's something that you should be able to just click on. And Brian, you're saying about time, and it is about time. So, one of the cool things is make sure, like, if you have favorite companies, ask them if they're coming, because, being a Wisconsin show, we want to make this what Wisconsinites want to see. And Minnesota, you're welcome. Iowa, maybe not. I'm kidding. Yeah. Iowa, you're welcome. Illinois, even you're welcome. Because I mean, there's some really easy travel routes, but some really great products that are coming to this show. And so I'm just really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Brian also brings up another good point that I want to touch on. You said buy Clam Outdoors. No. And that's not in a bad way. It's also not by Eskimo. It's not by Striker. It's not by Otter. This is an independent ice fishing expo. We're not going to be pumping you full of like a giant exhibit of a brand. We're getting the small guys here. This is all the really cool stuff that you want to see. Like, dare I say, like the Wisconsin Ice Cast? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe. You have to show up.
But if you do have favorite brands or anything, tag them here or let them know that they should be signing up because I do believe that spots are still available.
Oh yeah.
And we were just talking about the Wisconsin Fishing Expo, so not ice. And that just happened and people had a really great time. So it's actually the same group that puts on that expo as what's going to put on the ice expo. So,
Mhm.
we were just talking about, Prize Patrol and all that fun stuff. And
We'll
I
be
guess I
doing that
haven't
there.
heard for sure, but I imagine, yeah, it will
Yep.
be very, very similar. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm just noticing, I bet now people at home can't see. Are these Widowmaker jigs? We just spent so much time talking about
Yeah.
that. I bet it's gotta be.
Yeah.
I know that little dropper, that
Yeah.
white and pink one. I just had to ask.
Yeah, Brian, that the Milwaukee State Fair, the show that was at the Milwaukee State Fairgrounds, that was the same people that put on the show in St. Paul. And yeah, they just stopped doing it, and so we're taking that spot. It's up in Oshkosh. Yeah, we're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, there is like so much more that I want to talk about. I'm seeing that our time is kind of flying by, 7:45. So I mean, I guess a little bit, we're still ice fishing, and so if people are out there still are ice fishing, we're in it with you. We're looking forward to it. We didn't get to camping this year. We do like to camp overnight on the ice. But it has been just such a questionable year with ice conditions. And so gosh, I hate to say that's going to have to hold off until next year.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but just how everything worked out for our timing, and we had a couple extra, not a little bit surprise stuff that we hadn't planned on going. All good stuff, but we just had to put the camping on the back burner. So we'll get back to it next year. We have a couple of spots now. Yeah, it was hard moving into an area with so many great places to fish, and we only got 2 months of open water to really explore, and it and then we jumped right, like we literally like parked the boat and went to an ice expo, and we've been going to ice expos until 2 weeks ago. So it's tough when you don't know the area, and then you're kind of just learning. But now we'll get a proper season in, we'll get some mapping in, we'll get a feel for what some of the lakes look like, weed beds, other kinds of structure, and we'll be able to set ourselves up great for success next ice season. Otherwise, coming up, yeah, we'll probably be doing getting out on the water in
The
April
water,
sometime.
like ice?
No, in the boat. We'll be revving that boat up.
I'm not ready. Everybody else is ready. I'm not ready.
But we'll be doing that. I got a little bit of stuff to do. I got some I just got a new blade bait mold in the mail today. So I want to make some blade baits.
Maple syrup season.
I want to tie up some hair jigs. I got some awesome jigs from Frostbite that have a prop, like a propeller on the nose. I thought that would be something cool. Tie some hair on the back of it. It's not necessarily meant for that, but tie some hair jigs with like a prop head, and something that maybe the Wisconsin walleyes haven't seen before. So just a little different. Just those little differences, sometimes can make the difference.
Sometimes the little differences are what make you get stuck in the river.
Yeah, could be. We'll see. We'll see who's holding a 30-incher by the end of the spring. No, but we got that. I know I've been saying this for a long time, but we've been busy traveling. I'm gonna get that lure lab done. We're gonna show you guys around. It's starting to look awesome. It looks like a bait shop grenade went off in there right now. Like there's just crap all over the place. So carp doesn't count. Well, that's true. I never did specify what 30-incher I would catch. It could be a log.
Oh no!
You
would be so mad. I hope it's a fish.
Jay brings up a funny point. We were fishing the Wolf River like a year ago.
Ice fishing.
No, remember we were jigging walleyes
Oh,
in the
yeah,
fall, and I
yeah.
did pull up like a 30-inch
yeah.
carp. We thought that it was a giant walleye.
We were so excited.
Yeah.
And then
It was.
I knew it was
But it
still
was
a
an
great
awesome fish. It
Yeah,
was
but
big.
it was not what we
No.
thought it was. It was like, oh my
But it
God.
hit a swim bait.
It was,
Yeah.
who knew?
Ate it.
Yeah, chomped it good.
Yeah, so we got that lure lab to finish up. We're gonna be getting some more guests on here. We have a few people in mind. We've met some really great people over the winter season. And so we'll have them on. We'll do some more update videos like this. These are my favorite.
We're just
Honestly,
getting back to all the things that we were doing and hopefully more. But with moving and the season changing and all the things and stuff, it just thanks for hanging tight.
But honestly, these are my favorites. When we can just sit and talk.
Jonathan just ran out of white paint.
Oh no. No one knows how sad that is more than us. So Jonathan, we feel for you.
That's like the base for almost all the other best colors.
We really hope that you have a Hobby Lobby close and you can get there before Sunday.
Just Amazon.
It's there you go. Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys don't have any more questions for us, I don't know. I don't know if I have anything.
The problem is if I start talking about anything else, it's going to be a whole long story. So, as we continue to line up podcasts, that's something that we're going to share more of our winter with you and all of that. But I mean, again, we're going to bring back some of our guests and just get back to some of the awesome stuff that we were doing. So just love that everyone here was able to take their time out of their day to be here with us because we love it and we're glad that you love it. And
thank you guys so much.
Hoping to continue to make this happen.
Yep.
So I guess with that, thanks for joining us on this week's episode of The Night Bite, and we will see you next week.
Night, everybody.